Hey, good morning everybody. So today I want to show you how to join multiple parts to make a larger sculptural item. So like this one here was an example that I created for Greek pottery, and when the Greeks did it, they were making really giant things, right? So they divided it up into sections. So they would throw or create a section for the foot, and then basically you can see how this part right here would up to about here is a bowl, and then this part right here is another bowl, and then basically like a cup on top. So by combining basically like a mini cup, a bowl, an upside down bowl, and another cup, you can create this kind of shape, okay? So that's what I want to show you how to do. So I've already made a couple molded bowls. So when I was doing the molded bowls, you can see the molds back here. When you're choosing your molds for this, you got to be strategic about it. You got to think about what the shape is that you're trying to create, so that way you can get the right shapes for what you need, right? So like these two here are the ones that I did. Now these two match pretty closely. I've got a bottom that kind of comes up a little straighter, and then I have a more flat top on this one. These particular molds match up, and you just have to be really careful to make sure that once you trim them that they still match up, right? But I'll show you a trick in case that doesn't happen. Now these two you can see do not match up, and that's actually okay. Right now it's kind of upside down. I have a more straight-sided one, and then I have a wider one. The thing is if you use this wider one, you just have to make sure you trim it correctly to make it fit this. And you just have to realize you're really not gonna get most of this mold to fit on this base. It's gonna be a much flatter top. And then these two I stacked together, and they're basically exactly the same size, and they are more vertical. So this would create a slightly more rounded form. And you, again, just have to be careful to make sure that you cut it at the same spot or a similar spot to make sure that it's still gonna fit. Okay, so I went ahead with these two right here, where I have the slightly straight-sided and then I have the flatter bowl form. And when I flip them over, they fit together, okay? So if it doesn't fit together like this one does, if your bigger bowl is bigger than the base bowl, all you gotta do is take your needle tool and rest it against the side of this and make a mark on your top bowl and just trim the extra off, and then it'll match. But these ones, when I trimmed it on the mold, I made sure that they actually matched. But like I said, if it doesn't, you're just gonna still set it the way you like it, and then just trace with your needle tool, trace along the edge, and that'll be fine. So these are both leather hard, and they're a little bit like my base one. It's really important that when you're joining these, that they are leather hard. My base one is a little bit on the stiffer side of leather hard. If I wasn't careful, this would be a little bit too stiff, but you don't want it too soft, okay? If it's a little bit extra, you know, leather hard, it still has to be leather hard, but if it's a little bit on the stiff side for the base one, that's okay. But it's just really important that they're leather hard. If you try to do this when they're still soft, it's not gonna work. It'll just, like, the weight of the top one will kind of crush the bottom one. So you have to be very strategic. Okay, so I already have both my bowls created. Ooh, I'm making some clay boogie mess right now. And I am scoring the edges. Now when you do this, you really need to score the snot out of these things, okay? You want to score it really, really well. Ooh, I got clay boogies everywhere. Okay, and then I've scored all the way around, but I'm gonna score one more time, but I want to go ahead and add my slip, and remember, kiss it like a dewdrop fairy. And then I'm gonna set this one to the side and just let that water soak in for a minute. And while I score the other one, so that way when I score this again, it's gonna go even deeper, okay? So now this one, because this was the second one I made, this one's a little bit softer, but it is still leather hard. It can very easily hold its own shape. So that's really important. If they can't hold their own shape, then they're not going to be able to be joined together. If they're too stiff, then you're not going to be able to kind of blend it real good. You're going to have a difficult time. Okay. So now I'm trying to do the scoring fairly quickly. So I'm being a little messy right now. Be a little neater. Okay. I am using a banding wheel just because it does, for me, make it easier to, get all the way around. Oh, clay boogies. Clay boogies are like the bane of my existence. But as long as you keep your area clean and stay caught up on the clay boogies, it'll be fine. All right, so I got that one. Let me kiss it like a dewdrop fairy. Whee! Now notice, since I'm doing 2 leather hard things, with our clay, I'm gonna go ahead and add just a tiny bit of water. I'm kissing it like a dewdrop fairy to both sides because these are all leather hard, okay? If this was softer clay, then we only, we score both sides always, but we would only blend or slip on one side. Okay, so now this one's my stiffer of the 2. So I'm going to set this one on here. And like I said, I really want to make sure that my scoring is amazing. So I let that water sit on there just for a minute. And I'm just going to score one more time all the way around just to make sure. Okay. Because if you do not do good scoring, you will have a broken project. And it's really easy after all these years for me to tell if you scored well, if that was the problem, or if there was something, unavoidable or something else that happened. Oh, and my little thingies fell up. That was crazy. Okay. All right, so I've got it all the way around now. Now, I already added water to both sides, right? I already slipped both sides. So now I'm ready for joining. I have a really good scoring on both of these. I'm gonna go ahead and dump out my clay boogies into the water. And remember, if for some reason we're not using communal water buckets, if you're using the little water buckets, just 2 fingers drip, 2 fingers drip, 2 fingers drip. Okay. All right. So this is the part that kind of scares everyone. Now, if you can hold them both in your hand, this is the easiest way for me. If you want to try it sitting on the thing, that's fine too. But you want to get it matched up on the edge, and then you're going to slowly match it up all the way around. So I get it part way around, and then I'll set it on my thing. Okay, now at this part, now we got to make sure that it matches all the way. If it doesn't match all the way, just, it's got to be leather hard, but if it's still movable leather hard, which is what you want, then you can kind of adjust it. And if it pops on a side, that's okay, but you want to get it so it kind of matches all the way around. So I'm just checking this edge and making sure that this edge matches all the way around, that I don't have any weird spots, and I don't. So, and if I did, I would just adjust it, right? But now, remember, like I've said before, you want to squeeze it like a pimple. So you're compressing the clay together right at that join mark. You want all that stuff to squeeze out. It's just like when you're popping a pimple. You don't push on the pimple and try to shove the stuff back in your face. You're trying to squeeze it out, okay? So same thing with this. And if you do get all that goopy stuff squeezing out, that means that you slipped and scored enough. And that's good, right? Because then it's going to be joined really, really well. And it's not going to break apart, okay? If you're not getting stuff squeezing out, then you need to take it apart and slip and score again, because it's better to know now and to fix it than to not. And once you have it squeezed all the way around, then you can just use that extra goopy stuff to kind of smooth it a little bit. Now, if you have like a little bit of a bump or something, once we cut the hole in the top and you can stick your hand or a tool in there, then you can adjust it. But let's see, here we go. So I'm gonna do this all the way around. Now, once I've done this all the way around, I'm gonna use a rib to kind of adjust my shape and to smooth it a little bit more and all that kind of stuff. And remember, never, for our clay, never add extra water other than your slipping and scoring water. Never smooth with water with this clay. Every clay is different, but it's really important for our clay that you do not smooth it with water. Okay, so unless it's from the slipping and scoring, don't ever add water. Okay, so I'm using a flexible rib. This is just a Starbucks card that I cut up, but you can use either the metal ones or you can use one of these. But I want the flexible ones because I want to be able to bend it into a curved shape that kind of matches what I want this to ultimately be. So I'm going through and I'm actually scraping off some of the clay. Like there's some extra goop that's kind of coming off. And in an attempt to keep my area slightly cleaner, even though I have all these clay boogies that I'm gonna have to clean up. Remember, never wipe clay boogies on the floor. If I see you wiping clay boogies on the floor, that is an immediate detention, just saying. Because you don't wanna give anybody silicosis, and I don't wanna give anybody silicosis, and I don't wanna die a horrible death. So, clay boogies in the garbage, not on the floor. Okay. So I'm just like, scooping, right? And it'll kind of leave a little bit of funky stuff here and there. And you can, I was scraping pretty hard at the beginning, but now I can scoop off my thing more frequently. Now that I have the shape refined the way that I like it, I can kind of clean it up. In any funky spots, I can still, you know, spend a little bit of time just with my fingers smoothing it, right? Now, I still haven't opened the top, and that's okay. But that is how you join two bowls together. So the next video, you can see it's nice and kind of smooth. The next video, I'm gonna show you how to add, like, if you want, you know, the top, like this kind of a thing. I'll show you how to do that. I'm gonna show you how to join a couple tumblers and everything too. But if you're just doing, if you're starting out with this, if you're just doing two bowls to get to that vase shape, or if this is your final shape, there you go. Oh, this is actually really good for the body of a teapot too. So, all right, thanks everybody. Be creative and have fun.